Hi everyone, welcome to Type Talks. Today we have an ESTJ typing session demonstration. And in this video, I type my client Ashley's mother. Typically, I do these typing sessions with another certified practitioner, but this time I typed solo. And so if you'd like to support this channel, feel free to check out the services linked below. And thank you. It really helps support the channel. Without further ado, here's the video. And so, Ashley, would you like to describe Barb for me?
Sure. Well, she's my mom. That's great. Well, so I guess as a mom, she's very supportive, always there for me, biggest cheerleader, that kind of thing. And very competent. I think you're pretty fast paced. You like very efficient, I would say. Quick to make decisions. You don't really seem to overthink things too much. You're pretty good at structure or organization. And with being a teacher, also you need to do that. And mom's an unusual teacher in that most of her career she's taught both English and math, high school English and math.
Amazing.
So yeah, usually you have just English or just math, science kind of stuff, and she does both. So let me think. You work hard. Often, because my dad likes us to. He has upbringing, compulsive working behaviors. But let's see. Some other things. You do a lot for other people. So we have a neighbor who doesn't drive, and mom takes her a lot of places and picks up groceries and does things like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think you also kind of take charge of a lot of.
Probably.
Yeah, you definitely do. Yeah, a lot of organizations or groups or whatever, and you're really good, I think, at leading them. But I would say that you're more you do like to be more structured rather than if there's a plan, then you want to kind of follow that, rather than just being fun and spontaneous. I mean, you're also fun and you can be spontaneous, but I would say when it comes to if you're leading, it's more orderly. Oh yeah, and you're good at organization, and coming up with systems. Oh, you like gadgets. She likes so today's mom's first day with school being done, and so she washed her sheets this morning, and I helped her make the bed, and I have these clips to keep the sheets down where they're tucked in.
Yeah.
So there are all kinds of things like that. If there are I don't know, new products that are supposed to help with stuff. Yeah, that's true. You guys do a lot of home repair. In terms of people, one thing I definitely admire is that your students and other people in general, especially people who are more outcasts or not I don't know, would you say people don't necessarily always fit in, or some discipline issues and stuff like that too. Yeah, they always do feel safe coming to my mom, and she does have time and patience and love for them and stuff. And so yeah, I think you do help a lot of people. But you also I would say you kind of also lead. It's often situations where you're kind of, I don't know if you're necessarily more competent than other people, but you it's not necessarily that, but sometimes people won't do stuff, they won't step up, and so stuff wouldn't happen if you didn't make it happen. I think that's true for all of us too. You make sure we get places on time or as close to it as we can.
Yeah.
People don't like to leave early, and so let's see, where is that? Or should I keep thinking about some other things? She does lots of different.
Come up with it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, mom's done tons of different jobs in her life, so teaching has been her primary one. But I mean, hopefully it's okay to say, but she wanted to be a doctor, and she had like a really crappy guidance counselor and parents who like did nothing for her, and she was working a full-time job, and she had like some crappy life stuff happen, and like decided to basically eventually she changed majors basically, and went to like English, which was as far away as she could think of, but she also teaches math because she already had like math science kind of classes. So that's how that kind of happened. But I mean, hopefully that's not too personal to share, but like, but so like that's, we've like, she's speculated that that's why she's tried so many different jobs, because it wasn't really what she wanted to do. When you did like EMT certification years ago, and yeah, you've done like, she's flown helicopters, she's well, you've done like a lot of administrative and stuff,
a lot of secretarial,
yeah, so
singing telegrams.
yeah, so yeah, mom like leads the music at her church. And yeah, I would say you do like to follow rules. That's yeah. And I think that goes into with like also being on time and stuff. That I think is kind of similar. I don't know.
And we're done. So
well, I would say you don't necessarily love to cook.
No,
that's not necessarily the most important
or
thing
baking.
to talk about. Yeah, but so like Chris, for instance, likes to cook. Of all of us, he's the one who likes to cook. And let's see, what are some other things? I would say you're very okay. So like you like stuff that's symmetrical, for instance, and like again that order, symmetry, like for instance,
balance.
If I decorate the Christmas tree, it's going to be more like, which I usually do. Yeah. Partly because like I want to, and like I think it's going to look like I like how it looks when I do it. But like, so I can be like more particular. But yours, if you were to do it, it would be like
take the ruler and
yeah. So like, so you're kind of patient in that respect.
That far apart, and it'd be up so much. Yeah.
So more like I don't know, what would you call that? Rather than like
structured or precise,
haphazard, or like artistic leaning or something with that kind of thing. Of like that, yeah, potentially like imbalance that also then ends up looking really nice. I would say you're much more like orderly about it or something.
Yeah. Tape measure and the level out. And my tools, you know.
What are some other things that are interesting? Well, okay, yeah, you can get kind of bossy when we're all late.
What they said on my grade card in second grade, that was my negative. I was bossy.
I don't know if it's bossy, but you get like,
I wanted people to get the stuff done.
yeah. But so like sometimes you get that tone of voice. Like if we were all on time, you probably would leave us alone. But like since we're not, you like kind of, you know, get that like.
It's also the school teacher in me.
Yeah. Or like, yeah, with stress and so, like I think you do get more stressed out with those kinds of things, and you express it. It does like kind of help us go places, but it's not as nice. And so, well, and I would say when it comes to some of my stuff, I don't think you like it when I express some emotions, like anger, or I don't know. Sometimes when I'm sad and stuff, you just like want to fix it, or you'll tell me stuff about like other people who have it worse or something. And so that's not always what I want to hear. But I mean, I get that. Yeah. So I would say that you definitely like it. You like having solutions for people. So, but you must also, I don't know, when other people come to you, I don't know, like if you just listen to them or if you try to also give them solutions.
Both.
Yeah. Cause I was going to say,
I think you listen first, but then,
Well, yeah, but would you like ever just sit there and be like, I'm sorry, that kind of thing? Or would you want to like solve it?
I would probably mostly try to solve it.
Yeah.
Probably would. Yeah.
So I think I would probably not do that as much. Or I don't know, because like I wouldn't know how, like I mean, if there's something like really basic, I might like know how to solve it, for instance. But other things, there's nothing like to solve. It's just somebody is upset about something that, you know, and they just want to be. So I think I'm better at that, and you're better at if people want advice or yeah, because for me with advice, it's like again, so many options, and it's also like I don't necessarily want to say that I would know. I mean, I don't think that you say that. I don't think you're like, this is what you should do. You need to do this. but like I wouldn't really want to.
You might want to make suggestions though.
Yeah, but some people are like, this is the only way to do things, and let me tell you what that is. And I don't feel like I don't think you would do that, but I think you might have more solutions kind of stuff than I would. I would maybe talk about like various options that I saw, or various, and again, I think I would take it from like a personal thing of like, if I were going through that, what would go through my mind, and then I'll say that, and that works for some people, I guess. So, for some friends, I don't know how much you do that. I don't know. I would say you don't necessarily like cry during movies or things like that. Yeah, you're not very like emotional.
No.
Um,
No, rather you fight it. It's
sometimes
like yesterday was my last day at school because I retired yesterday. And so, they brought like the big cookie and they brought a necklace and stuff. And people are saying nice things about you and you do everything you can not to cry. Yeah. They're all crying. Don't do that. But no, you don't cry.
But that also depends on like your position. Like, I mean, that wasn't like you were in front of students and you had to like keep order. And
No,
so
this
was
was just the
cry.
teachers
But
meetings,
yeah, but still, I guess like it could be different because it's like work. But occasionally you'll cry, and when you get upset, I do think you can get your feelings hurt sometimes.
Yeah,
or like, okay, so sometimes I say things that I don't mean as like criticism, but you take it as criticism, or like you take it as a bad thing instead of like, I don't mean it as a bad thing, or something. I don't know. So I would say that you can be a little bit sensitive that way. And then when you get upset, I mean, I think we all do it, but especially with like certain things with dad, like related to moving, basically, it can be like jumping to one conclusion, like your version of what you think he's doing. And that's not necessarily what he is actually doing. Like when we can drag it out of him, because it's hard to like get him to say anything. Well, I mean, yeah, it is. And also we talk a lot. So, but when you can actually get him to say stuff, he kind of says things that are different, but he doesn't contradict necessarily the things that we're thinking maybe, or what's going on with him. So, if you don't do that, then it's fair game potentially to like jump to the conclusion, not being denied. But yeah, I think like I think also dad says a lot of stuff that he doesn't mean to be, like he can be kind of critical in the sense of like, I don't think he means it all the time. Sometimes I think he does mean it as like a this should be improved or something kind of way, but I think other times he's just commenting. And so I think it depends on the situation. But anyway, okay, so how's that?
That was amazing. Thank you, Ashley. I appreciate that. That was extremely helpful. Yeah. Okay, and so now it'll be Barb time.
Okay. Well, have fun.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you around.
Bye, Mom. Have fun.
Bye.
Oh, and you can adjust the.
Okay. Yeah, is the lighting good for you?
It is perfect.
Okay. All right. Good. That's fine.
All right.
Okay. Hello.
Hi there.
Bye.
And so, bye, Ashley. Yeah, and so I'm wondering, do people ever put you in leadership positions, just even like when you don't ask? Like they just see that you have that leadership capability and they just like put you in
very often. And it's kind of been, I feel like kind of even back in high school, if I was in an organization, I was likely the president of it. I mean, it was like president of National Honor Society, president of Student Council, president of the French. I mean, it's like if I was in a club, I was made president of it. And I didn't mind, because I do see myself as somebody that can get things done when other people will just not do anything. So I think some of them just wanted to have more fun, and I was like a person that wanted to get things done. So I think often suggested as the person that should lead something.
Yeah. If there's someone who you are overseeing or you're the president of and they're being over and emotional, let's say that they have a deadline for the club, but they haven't been meeting their deadlines a few times, and it seems like it might be for an emotional reason. How patient would you be with those type of reasons? Or would you be more consistent with the way that you discipline?
I would, and probably more recently, of course, would be with school teaching. And I would say I'm very, very patient. I mean, maybe like I will give extensions on things, and some people will take advantage of that. But I do realize people have a life outside of where I'm seeing them.
Uh-huh.
That I never know what the kids have faced in the morning before I see them. And, so maybe, getting this paper in on this time is a priority for me, but it really wasn't for them. So probably more than some of the other teachers, I would extend deadlines to certain people.
Mm-hmm.
They're dealing with stuff. Now, if it was like a club type thing, then a lot of times probably I would just take on the thing and just do it myself, which is maybe not the best. But with the kids need to do it. So, you can't do that. But I had one boy recently, he's a 10th grader. And it's just like, I even said to him, it's like, do you want me to be your nag? I mean, it's like, just get the thing done. Then I don't have to keep saying your name's not on the board, and I can just stop bothering you. But it got to the point that I'm like showing up in homeroom and like looking in. It's like, hey, Miss Wagner. And I'm like, Grant, and then it's like, oh, I completely forgot. And it's like, I don't really want to stalk you. but if it's something that I'm in and I'm amongst peers, and if somebody is having trouble doing something, I probably would just take it on and do it myself, which is maybe not the correct solution, but it needs to be done.
Yeah. Do you find that when things don't have closure, it can kind of like bug at you, like a part of your brain that you can't shut off? It's like, ding, ding, you have to do this thing.
Yes, totally. Yeah. And it will, I mean, it literally, this particular boy on this one assignment, I'm like, the last day of school, I'm showing up, and he's finally like, just give me the 0. And I'm like, you have till the end of the day. And I finally had to just give him the 0, but I'm like going to try until the very last. And then it's like, well, I got to turn my grades in. So, okay, you got a 0. And that's hard for me to do. I see that almost as a failure on my part, I suppose, that somebody would just not turn something in.
Yeah, you take on a lot of responsibility for like a broad group of people and the students that you take care of.
Well, I've done that like forever. I'm the youngest of 3. My brother's 5 years older. My sister's 2 years older. And I remember, now this is back in like, I guess the early 60s. We were all born in the 50s. And there were not fast food restaurants, and you didn't eat out. And my dad went to college and then seminary after we all existed, and he was living away from home 5 days a week. And occasionally when we went to visit him, there was a McDonald's, and we would stop. And of course, there weren't drive-throughs or anything. And I get teased about this to this day, but it's really funny because I don't know why Mom didn't want to go in, but we wanted McDonald's. Mom is not going to go in. My brother is not going to go in. My sister's not going to go in. And I'm like 2nd grade. And I would be like, what do we want? And I would get the order. And where I got teased is I was incredibly tiny at the time. And I would go in, they couldn't like see me. I had to put my hands up on the counters to even like let them realize somebody was down. But by God, I came out with the hamburgers, and I don't understand. I look back on that, it's like, why on earth would nobody else go in? But we would not have had the McDonald's had I not gotten out of the car, and Mom gave me the money and I went in. So it's been like, since like 2nd grade, as long as I can remember, that I will just do what it takes to get the thing done.
You're so reliable. My gosh.
Yeah, that's a good word, actually.
Yeah, reliable, dependable.
Word, but yeah, you can count on me. Yeah, to be something done. So
we
I know,
can count on you.
Like with leading singing at church, and it's been really hard this last year with COVID and everything. And so even when church wasn't meeting, I was there and the organist was there, and we were doing things on Zoom and Facebook, or whatever. And when we'd had our COVID shots, we didn't think about when we scheduled our vaccine that the 2nd shot fell the day before Easter. And that's a big Sunday, And Ashley will say, just tell him you can't be there. Because I had a backup just in case. But she say, well, just tell him you can't be there. And I'm like, well, it's my responsibility. And fortunately, we didn't have any reactions and I was able to be there. But it's just very hard for me to not be where I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed to be there early.
Yeah, it's almost like this sense of obligation to people, feeling a sense of duty.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like you should have been able to plan to make sure that you would have been able to do it. It's almost like if it goes poorly, it feels like it's a lack of planning on your part, and you can kind of take it on yourself.
Yes, it would reflect that. I don't know to whom. I mean, it's like, it's like, oh, you didn't do a good job on that or something. And other people miss all the time, but I don't. I mean, it's like I didn't need a sub at all this school year. I mean, I was really blessed with all of the COVID and everything that I was there every day, and not everybody could say that. So I was fortunate, but perfect attendance has been important to me since I was this big, that you don't miss school, you don't miss work. You better be dead if you don't go to school or work. So
you will drag your way there.
Yes. It's months, and I was like, the last period was study hall, and I was a very studious person, and I was in study hall with my head down on the desk, and that was very unusual. And I was like a junior, and the teacher came over to see if I was okay, and she's like, she put her hand on my forehead. She's like, you're burning up. And I got home and I had 103-degree fever, and I'd been at school all day because you go to school, it's like, so whatever that's about.
Yeah. You should be going to school when you can, and you shouldn't make excuses for yourself. Like, you'll figure out a way. You can do it. Yeah. Unless you're
unless you better be literally in the hospital or something, or like when Dad graduated from seminary, I was in 6th grade when he finally finished all of his school, and they made me miss school to go to his ordination. And I was furious because it was the first day of school I missed in my entire life, was to go to his ordination. And I remember thinking, I shouldn't have to miss school. And it wasn't like you got a prize if you had perfect attendance or anything, but it just was my thing that you go to school every day.
Yeah, you're a good student. You're like that A student who does the good student things.
I'm very much a nerd. I mean, school was important to me. And because I thought I was going into medicine, I definitely wanted to do really well in the grades and things. And it was rather shocking when that didn't get to end that way, but life,
Yeah. Do you find it jarring when your plans get derailed? Like, you were expecting it to go a certain way, you had a set in stone plan, and then it suddenly gets wiped into the other direction. It's just kind of jarring.
Yes. Well, because when all of that happened, I pretty much thought I grew up, Leave It to Beaver, a very small town, very close family. Now, it's interesting. I thought I had a very idyllic childhood. If you talk to my sister and brother who grew up in the same home, the same town, it was really rough. But I don't know if because I was the baby, I wasn't aware of things. And what ended up happening was it came out when I was a freshman in college. Yeah, I had to think when it was. And I started college pre-med. That my dad had an affair, and it cost him the ministry, cost us our home because we lived in the parsonage. At the same time, my sister got a divorce, and we're just not people who do that. And it was just, and my whole world blew up, and I actually dropped out of college for a while. And it was like everything that I knew to be true wasn't, because from 5th grade, I was going to be a doctor. And suddenly I'm being told by a guidance counselor that that's not going to happen. My parents, who I counted on, that didn't happen. We lost our home. My sister and her daughter moved, and it was like, I mean, I considered suicide a couple of times, because it was like everything in my world that had been ordered, did the science fair, you did everything you did to make something happen, and suddenly that was all gone, and I didn't know how to move forward. I mean, it was like, and like Ashley said, so then when I went back to college, I dropped out for 2 quarters, and when I went back to college, I did it mostly because it's expected, because I was really smart. And it's like, well, Barbie Place graduates from college. I mean, I was the first one in my family, and my brother and sister didn't go. And it was like, it's expected. My teachers would be disappointed. My classmates would be disappointed. They probably couldn't have cared less. But in my mind, it was like expected. But then it was literally that if I cannot be a doctor, I want nothing to do with math and science. So what's the most opposite of that? And I became an English teacher. But then because I had a lot of math and science, aside from the very first year I taught, I've always taught math and English. And then the last 3 years, I've also taught science. So it's really been kind of interesting. But yeah, so that was probably the most drastic. But I do like things to go in a certain way. And it is probably hard for me to adjust when they don't, I would say.
Having that very planner nature, and also having a strong sense of external obligation, when those two things are wiped from the slate, it can almost feel like everything you put everything into is now like flushed down the toilet, and now kind of like trying to pick up the pieces or what's left. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I mean, it was like, I mean, I never even, I just did not do anything wrong growing up. I mean, it was like, that sounds ridiculous, but I mean, it's like, I never went toilet papering with my friend. I mean, I never did anything that a lot of my friends were doing because I thought it would reflect, number one, reflect badly on my family. But number two, that for some reason, I thought if I did anything wrong, I would never get into medical school. Like they're going to see that I toilet papered when I was a junior in high school, and which, you know, when you look back, is probably ridiculous, but all of it was this has to be done so this can happen. And if I do anything outside of that, it will reflect badly.
Yeah. So you have this very safe, cautious type of approach to things.
Right. That's why I'm very law abiding. I mean, it's like, I have never had a ticket. I will not drive over. Aside from when I drove ambulance, I don't drive over the speed limit, but you know, very law abiding, very rule following. Yeah.
Yeah, you have this keen awareness of consequences. Like if you do this, there will be these consequences potentially. And you don't want to risk it. Those are really risky.
It's not worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. You're the opposite of the phrase "risk it for the biscuit." You're like, hey, if it's just a biscuit, don't risk it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's just not worth it. Yeah. Yeah. And my mom was raised Mennonite. I was not raised Mennonite, but my mom was raised Mennonite. So I would say, you know, we were raised very much like Mennonite children, probably, even though we weren't in the Mennonite church. So you just learn very early on. And I learned from watching my brother and sister what you don't do, because I didn't want to get in trouble or get disciplined. So it's just like, okay, they get upset when they do that. So I'm not doing that. And so I don't know, maybe when you're the third child, it's easier.
It's like, you know, the rules really well, or you know the template really well. And so you know the boundaries of a good action and a bad action, and you want to like stay within the good actions.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
You're an outstanding kid. I don't know, you're like the perfect child.
The thing is, though, I went into teaching expecting the kids to be like I was, and they're not. And so that was a rude awakening, you know, my first year teaching school, because it was like, wait, they don't all behave like I do. And it's kind of funny because the kids when I was in school didn't either, but somehow I had that expectation that this is how you behave in school. And so of course my students will.
Yeah. It's like, this is how it went for me in the past, so I expect it to also be like this in the future, but it's not.
No.
These kids, rowdy ones.
A lot over. I started in 77, so it's changed a lot through the years how kids even are. But it's been an enjoyable career, even though I've strayed from it quite a few times. I've worked a lot of different jobs.
Cool. And so I'm wondering about the bossiness that Ashley mentioned. Your thoughts on that?
It's like literally the only negative I ever remember reading on a grade card, you know, as the years went by. And as I recall, you know, talking to my parents, the kids wouldn't get their work done as fast as I thought they should. And so I would go over and try to tell them how to do the stuff to move them along. But it's just because I got the stuff so much faster than the other kids. And so it's like, well, then let me help you figure out how to do it or something. And so the teacher wrote that I was bossy, but I probably was.
Bossy and efficient are on two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. So she could have said I was an encourager, but I was bossy instead.
Yeah, it just means you're a fast decision maker. You make lickety split decisions.
Right. Yeah. Probably a good way of looking at it. Yeah.
Would you say it's pretty easy for you to make a decision? Like you're given some options, you can kind of go like that road, we're going down there.
Which is why I struggle understanding Ashley sometimes, because it's like I like to simplify things, and I do just decide, and maybe sometimes I should think things through more. I mean, I just said to her today, she's got all of these purses she ordered, and she will agonize over them, and I'm just like, I carry a backpack, and it doesn't matter if I'm going to church, if I'm going today, you know, in a t-shirt, I just carry the same backpack. Like, to me, I've said to her, it's like, I can't imagine going through life trying to make decisions the way her mind works, because she has to go on and find how many people, how many stars did it get? I don't care. It serves my purpose, you know. But she wants to know, did it get 5 stars? Did it get 4 stars? Did people like it? And she'll read the reviews. And I mean, she will spend, I'm not exaggerating, you know, hours to a week, you know, trying to decide on a purse, and we'll order 10 versions of things to come from Amazon, and then we have to return the other 9. I'm just not gonna do that. I just want something that's utilitarian and it holds the things I need it to hold. It's easy to carry, and I'm done. But it's that way kind of like with everything, that I maybe should think things through more than I do, but I just have to get things done. So I just decide.
Yeah, as long as it performs its function and it does what it's
Right.
supposed to do, you're like, yeah, this is good enough.
Right.
This is the standard. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
But I mean, like, things end up looking nicer because of her thought. Well, and also because she's very creative. So, you know, with her, with like, you know, does she want drapes or, you know, different things where I'm just like, you know, beige walls done, you know, so I don't need it. I mean, if you saw my classroom, the principal, it's kind of the joke that when he's meeting with the board or different people throughout the summer, and the joke is, the one lady who's like my supervisor, but she also was an English teacher, but she has posters everywhere. And, you know, there's Shakespeare quotes and there's this quote and writing prompts. And Mr. James would say, let's go meet in Barb's room. And she's like, why do you like Barb's room? He's like, there's so many words in your room. And you go in my room. Of course, he retired as a nuclear submarine commander from the Navy before he came to our school. He's very practical. We get along very well. But in my room, I had like 4 posters in the entire, I mean, tearing down my room took me like no time. Where some of the teachers packing up a room is just huge, but I just want the walls plain. I think it's distracting. And I don't know, maybe the kids like seeing all the different colors and things, but it's like, I don't need all of that. Just keep it plain and simple. So decision too, you know, I can decide on what food I want to eat, and, you know, where I'm going. I can decide all that pretty fast.
Mhm.
But she's very analytical, so everything has to be thought through.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
And so, I'm wondering, Barb, what is your relationship with your emotions? You can approach this however you'd like.
My relationship with emotions?
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting question. Emotions aren't a big part of my life. I mean, they really aren't. I don't consider myself emotional. And I don't know why, but it's like, as long as I can remember, you don't cry at books, you don't cry at movies. And I'm always astounded at people who do. I mean, my cat got hit, I don't know, in October or something, and Ashley was devastated, and I was brokenhearted, but you fight it. I don't know why, but it's just not something, I don't know where that comes from, because I think my sister's emotional, but I don't know. I was always the tomboy and the real practical person, and you just, or I don't know, maybe sometimes it's kind of like, if you start it, you feel like you're never going to stop it or something, you know? So,
Mhm.
I mean, obviously back when we went through the whole thing with my parents and stuff, and it was about that time that I re-met my husband. And when I say re-met, we met in first grade and second grade. We've known each other our whole lives. And then my family moved from the town that we all grew up in. When I was going into 8th, he was going into 9th. So we didn't see each other during high school years. And then we re-met when my parents had kind of worked out their difficulties and got back together again. But I was going through my crisis. And I just remember one of the things I commented about Fred is he didn't say anything. There was a little stream next to where we moved after we had to leave the parsonage. And I would just go sit down there. And as I recall, I would just cry by the hours. And Fred would just sit there with me and hand me tissues. He never had any words to say. He didn't have advice, but he would just sit there and hand me tissues. So I don't know if, and that's really the only time I can remember just really being emotional. And I don't know if I didn't like how that felt, but it's just like ever since, I'm not real emotional. They're not a big part of who I would say I am.
Yeah. Do you ever compartmentalize your emotions? You kind of put them to the side while you have to get something done. It's like, I have to finish this
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
I can't feel right now.
Are you familiar with the reference of Pollyanna? Do you know the story of Pollyanna?
It sounds familiar.
It was a movie in the 60s with Haley Mills, but it's from a book. But there's a young girl who lost her parents. Her parents had been missionaries, and her parents died, and she ended up having to go live with a very rigid aunt. So whenever somebody says you're being Pollyanna, you're having the behavior of this character. But they played what she called the glad game. And like she remembered one time when they were missionaries and she'd asked for a doll, and the missionary barrel came with all the supplies, and she was hoping for a doll, and instead something got mixed up, and rather than a doll, she got crutches. And the way her parents had raised her, well, even though she didn't get the doll, she was so grateful that she didn't need the crutches. And so she taught people in the town how to play the glad game, and, you know, eventually softened up this aunt and everything. Well, anyway, mom raised us to be Pollyannas, good, bad, or otherwise. You know, you look for the positive in things, and even if something's really horrible, you try to find some way to be glad about it and find a way to be joyful in it. And that's, I mean, as long as I can remember, that's been how I was raised. And so I would definitely say, as far as compartmentalizing, you know, you're going to put the positive spin on something, even if maybe you should be heartbroken over it. You know, you just buck up and do what you have to do.
Life keeps moving on. You gotta keep moving.
Right.
Yeah, you can't be under the tide of your own emotions. Otherwise,
Right.
you'll not get anything done that way.
Yeah. Well, and even like when we were talking about with the childhood, and I don't understand this honestly, and it is kind of weird, but Denny, my brother and sister, they both look back at the town where we grew up they thought it was sad and it was negative and everything. And I thus thought we had this perfect childhood. And I don't know what that is, but I do find, and I don't know why I do this, I think I have selective memory, if that makes sense. Elaine and Denny will talk about some things that I don't remember them. And even though I was plenty old to remember them, but I have a way of like forgetting things that were unpleasant, and I only remember the good things. And I don't know if that's healthy or not, but I literally, they will mention some things and I'm like, I have no knowledge of it. I have no recollection of it at all, but they do. And it was like life-changing to them or something. And I'm like, I don't remember it. So, and I'm able to do that, you know, even, just very recently I had a kid, it surprised me, very, very good kid. I taught at a Christian school. Our kids were all very, very, I have very few problems as opposed to when I started teaching in inner city. But this kid said something in class that was just shocking. To me, it was very offensive. Like the whole class gasped. And I remember looking at him and it's like, wow. And I said his name and I was just kind of like shocked. Like the whole class was like, how do we move forward from here? And that period was right before lunch. And I had some kids staying in my room to finish a project. And he came and knocked on the door during lunch, and I went out in the hallway, and he was devastated. He was in tears. It's an 8th grade boy, and he was in tears. And he's like, I'm a hothead. I don't know why I said that. I am so sorry. And I was like, I totally forgive you. It's not going to change how I look at you. Fellowship has been restored. Please don't worry about this. Sleep well tonight. We're good. And this was just maybe 3 weeks ago. And it was interesting because, of course, the very next day when he comes in, it's kind of like, oh, how's she going to look at me? And I'm just as normal as can be. And we just, the day after school ended, so just Saturday, we had a big 5K at our school and he was there. And it didn't even occur to me until later. We were just normal and laughing and doing our normal things. And it occurred to me later on that had happened. And I don't know why, but I have an ability to kind of get rid of things that maybe were hurtful to me. And I think I live well. Ashley thinks I need to sometimes dredge some of these things up. And I'm like, why do I want to dredge things up that were painful when I've lost them? So I have like selective Alzheimer's.
Bury those bad emotions. Bury.
Right. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think I live a pretty happy, joyful life. Where like my brother and sister sometimes really have a lot of hurtful memories that I don't know. I don't have them. So it's weird.
Yeah, that's a skill that breeds a positive mindset and being grateful for life. And it seems like there's an optimism and there's a appreciating all that you've been given. So kind of focus more on that than the glass half full. You like to focus more on the glass half full.
Yeah. No, it's like, and I don't know, to me, I don't get greater joy out of like running around thinking about the bad things. Because even I know my kids in 7th grade English, so I teach 7th through 12th grade, but the 7th grade English kids, at different times they're like, why are all the stories in our literature book sad? You know, why do they have these bad endings? And I'm like, well, life is hard. If nobody's told you that, or life is hard, but you can find joy in this. And you know, being in a Christian school, you know, I can say to them, you know, it's like, we can see how God helped the people go through the hard time, and that he's always there for you. It doesn't change the outcome. The person still died, but God was able to carry them through it. Right? So we can have joy even in the hard things. And that's just kind of in my mindset that, you know, life is hard, but you can get through it, you know. So
yeah, that's a great mindset. I truly applaud it. Yay.
no, thank you.
And so, Barb, I'm wondering, for most of your life, did you feel like most females, or did you feel like a little different than a few of your female cohorts? Like, do you feel
I
like you
was very much a tomboy? So I was never the pretty girly cheerleader, you know, in high school, those kinds of people. When the other girls were out in grade school jumping rope, I carried my ball mitt and I played ball with the boys at recess. You know, I tried babysitting for a little bit and I didn't like it. And I took over my brother's lawn mowing business when he finished, because you made a lot more money. You didn't have to put up with kids. So I would say I was different. I mean, not like a radical feminist type person, but I liked boys' activities more than I did girls' activities. I had girlfriends, but a lot of times, especially like in high school, I saw them frivolous, and you know, it was just like, you know, they weren't doing anything important in my mind. Sometimes I could go to a slumber party and have a good time, but I didn't understand, you know, and to this day I don't. I mean, it's like I have some girls at school that are just the gigglers, and I don't get that. You know, it's like, what is this giggling? You know, that still is a problem for me, because they will just sit there and giggle about nothing. And I've never been that person. And so I guess from that standpoint, I never was that real feminine side person.
That makes a whole lot of sense. And so I'm wondering about your relationship with brainstorming, Barb. How easily does that come to you? Is it difficult?
I've
Easy?
never really liked it, honestly. It's like whenever I had to do it in college, or even like when the teachers will get together and they want to, I am not ever happy. I like people a lot, but I'm never really happy when they're like, okay, let's break into small groups. And I don't like that. I don't ever want to. And my friend Jenny that was talking about has all the words in her classroom. She would always laugh. She's like, Barbie, the most outgoing person I know, but I don't like when we break down into small groups. And I don't know why I've never liked brainstorming, but I didn't like it when I was introduced to it, you know, in upper grades of high school and in college. I don't know why. It just seemed like a waste of time. It's like, let's just do the thing. To like thinking, these bubbles out here. I don't know. It just seemed like a waste of time to me.
Yeah. Are you very aware of when things are wasting your time?
Yes. Very aware.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you extremely aware of the amount of time it takes to complete certain tasks? So task A will take this much of an amount of time, and B will take this much.
Yes. Yes. And it's frustrating to me when it doesn't go that way, like repairing or renovating our bathroom. You always think this is going to take so much time, and then you don't realize it's like, oh, well, this pipe isn't where it needs to be, or this fitting isn't doing what. But yes, I am very much aware of, and probably worse so now that I'm older. You know, and I will say, it bothers Ashley that I do this. It is like, I'll say, well, if I only live as long as Mom, I've only got 10 more years left. And, you know, so when you're reaching that point, then wasting time is hard, you know, because, and it's just kind of like, why would you want to waste the time? Let's just get something done. Yeah. So I would say I'm very much aware of wasting time, and it just also like you're not on task and you just need to do what you need to do.
You're an extremely articulate speaker, Barb. When you speak, it is really beautiful, and it's well put and articulate and communicative.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
That's
you.
a true skill, true divine gift that you have.
Oh, thank you.
And so I'm wondering, with purely speculative conversation, so let's say if we were to live on the moon for 10,000 years, it's saying that we've raised the human lifespan for that long, what are some of the rules and laws we would have on the moon, and what would we eat on the moon? And would it be fun to speculate those weird and wild possibilities that will never happen? Or how do you take that?
Honestly, that would probably be like a horrible, ridiculous assignment for me. I mean, it would just be like, I mean, it's like, I don't even like science fiction and, those kinds of things, the fantasy type stuff, which a lot of people love. I'm more realistic, like, well, that's not going to happen. So why am I spending time on it? I don't know. It could be fun to maybe try to think about it, but I can't imagine myself choosing to do that. If I were given it as an assignment, I would do it, but it wouldn't be something I would choose to do probably.
Yes. Are you?
But my kids probably would have liked that.
Yeah, you're more on the practical, grounded
Yes.
side. How can you apply this to reality after learning
Right.
about this? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
I mean, it's kind of like, I taught earth science and, so our last unit was on outer space and the galaxy and things. And the kids find it very interesting that, of course, I was around when they walked on the moon, so they like that I know that. And so I am always, when we look at that, and it's like, do you know how many things we have that we use every day because of the NASA program? I mean, it's like, so it is how the practical definitely would be something I would say is important to me.
Mhm.
Ballpoint pens that you could write up instead of down because we didn't used to have those. I don't really care about Tang so much, but computers, satellites. I mean, there's just so much because of the space race that we have and take advantage of. So if you can take something like that and bring it back to where we're using it here, the here and now, then I would like that better. Then that was a very interesting question, though. I was like, oh my goodness, she's going to make me answer this. I don't
Yeah.
know what kind of food would they eat? That's a good question.
Yeah. So you'd like the thoughts that you entertain to have some sort of practical utility to them.
Yes.
If they were just purely hypothetical, speculative, and abstract, it's kind of like, what? Okay, so what's the point then?
Right. Well, I just have been listening to a book, and they were talking about 3D printing, which I don't know much about, honestly. I mean, I know of it, but they were talking about 3D printing and that they're going to get a 3D printer to the International Space Station, and it will be able to make most of their replacement parts that now they have to wait for a ship to bring them. And I found that fascinating. I mean, something like that, I'm like, that's really, really cool. And I just thought of the 3D printers, it's like, well, they're kind of neat, but what practical purposes do they have? And then when I heard something like that, I'm like, well, that would change that entire program to have the ability to have replacement parts and things. So that was interesting. But again, I want to find a way that it's like being useful.
Yeah, you want to find that connection to real life. Yeah,
Right.
to make it interesting.
Make a button. And it's like, well, I can go buy a button. I mean, I don't need a $2,000 printer to make a button when I can go get them at Joann Fabrics. But when you realize the ramifications of what they're going to be able to do and like the artificial intelligence and different things that they're working on right now, and I'm like, now that is kind of cool. And I'm glad there are people that are more farsighted than I, because I hadn't even thought that they could do that. It's pretty amazing.
Fascinating.
Yes.
And I am wondering, have you ever done anything risky just because you like the thrill of it? Just because you like that feeling of danger?
I mean, I guess the riskiest thing was learning to fly helicopters. But again, that wasn't risky because you're trained and, you learn what you're doing. I don't consider myself a big risk taker. I mean, it's like I see people doing things like cliff diving or whatever you call that. Or we have a nephew that's all into the snowboarding and all of those kinds of things. And I look at people that do that and bungee jumping and those kinds of things. And I'm like, why do you do something like that can break your neck? And that I don't get that. I'm not that person. But I guess flying a helicopter, that was probably the riskiest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
And that was
Even
very fun.
In that you even minimize the risks by knowing the step-by-step what you need to do to stay safe while doing it. So
Yes.
there's a type of tried and true formula that you kind of used.
Right.
And so in a way,
instructor beside you until you're ready to solo. You've gone to ground school. You've prepared. So it's less risky because you understand why it works or how it works. But no, I would definitely not say I'm not a real risk taker. I mean, even in terms of like investing, my husband's much more of a risk taker than I very much want things being carefully invested, but he's much more of a risk taker and does well with it. But that scares me because it's, real money for retirement kind of thing. So, but no, I don't think too many people would describe me as a risk taker.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't describe myself that way.
Yeah. You plan to make sure all the risks are being looked after and that it's as safe as humanly possible.
Yes. Well, and some of it I just don't understand, like, why are people doing this? It's not something you have to do, and in an element of fun, literally risking their lives. I'm trying to think what it's called. I just was watching a YouTube video where these people base jumping. They jump off these cliffs and they wear like these suits that are like flying things, and then a parachute will come out at the end. And I was watching this one guy that died, and I mean, his friend watched. They were both doing it, and the guy has his GoPro camera on, and he's got voice, and he sees his friend die, and you hear his agony over. And while he still has to fly down, that, oh, my friend just died. My friend just died. And I'm like, why? He's 23 years old, and I'm like, well, what a waste, So that, to me, I don't even understand. And it wasn't even like, you're a fireman and you're risking your life to possibly save someone, or you're a police officer and you're risking your life to possibly save someone. It's just, it seems fun and I'm going to do it. So that I don't understand.
Yeah.
People are different from me, but that would not make sense to me.
It's kind of like there's a precedence, and that precedence, things set either kind of say if it's safe or not, or if it's worth doing or not. Yeah. And so it's looking at that origin and seeing if it's a safe choice to make, or if it's a good choice, a sound choice that has long-term benefit to it.
Well, I mean, even the less severe things than that, you just see the people that are the skateboarding and they land badly and break an arm or an ankle or something. And to me, I'm just like, why? It's like, why did you do this? One of our boys at school jumps up to grab the basketball hoop. This was like 2 years ago. And he grabbed it. It's a big thing for the kids. I don't know how much you spend around teenagers, but when they're tall enough to touch the door frame, and they all run around and jump to touch the door frame, or I can touch the basketball hoop now. And this kid, he was a freshman and jumped up and grabbed the basketball hoop, and it had him swing farther than he thought. Anyway, when he landed and broke both wrists, which was just horrible. I mean, it's like he could not do anything for himself. I mean, like anything. And you're a 9th grade boy, for like 6 or 8 weeks. And, you want to take that moment back. And I'm just kind of like, was that worth it? I mean, I wouldn't say that to him because he's in agony there, but I'm just like that, just such an unfortunate thing out of an unnecessary thing. I don't know. So, yeah. He got through it, but, it was rough. Could have been worse, I guess, but yeah. Yeah, it was a tough thing.
Terrifying, losing mobility. And it's like, they didn't have to do that. It's like, you could have just taken the safe route. Why did you purposefully do something with high risk? It's almost like you have the choice.
Did that before, kind of thing. Every other time he dropped straight down, and this time he was swinging, and
yeah, it's like you have the choice between 2 surgeries, one with a 1% risk in the surgery and another surgery with a 50% risk in the surgery. And it's like, so you have the choice. They do the same thing. These both have the same conclusion. Yeah, why would you not pick the better, more safe surgery? It makes no sense. Absolutely.
That's my thinking anyway. A lot of people, they thrill to that. I mean, like this one nephew, I mean, it's his whole life, the snowboarding and the skateboarding and the extreme sports. And he's not younger than Ashley. He's in his 30s now, and still, you just keep thinking he's going to outgrow it, but it's who he is.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, Barb, do emotions ever catch you off guard, like your own emotions? Do they ever come in bursts?
Well, yes. Actually, that day that the boy said the very harsh thing, I actually cried in class, and that was shocking to the whole 8th grade class. It was shocking to me, but I was really devastated by what he said, and it was just like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, he was a safe kid. I taught him, I've known him for 3 years, and it was just like shocked. just was shocked. And it's been a really hard year. I mean, it's been a really hard year. It's like, oh, I chose the last year to be a really doozy, with all the COVID stuff. But yeah, so when that does happen, it does surprise me because I'm usually very guarded. But I was just like really tired. And then that just like really kind of devastated me because I thought I had this relationship with this kid that just suddenly was like, I mean, like I said, the whole class gasped. I mean, it was just like, did he just say that? I know. It was just like, wow. Yeah. So it'll sneak up on me every once in a while. Depends if I'm really tired. If I'm really tired, then I'm less guarded about it, I suppose.
Uh-huh. Do you generally have an easy time separating business from your personal feelings, or do you tend to mix the two too much?
I would say can keep them pretty separate.
Yeah, generally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, like there's the teacher, Mrs. Wagner, that's kind of separate from the Barb,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what rules you more, your head or your heart, Barb?
My head.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say definitely my head.
Yeah.
Well, I would say I'm there are times that your heart gets hurt. So
Yeah.
if you just don't open that up, then
Mhm.
it's okay. The head is a safer place. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, Barb, I have a pretty good read of your type right now. And I'm wondering if we can get Ashley back into the room and do the
Yeah,
reveal.
let me find her. Yeah, because she loves this stuff. I know. Hey, Ashley. She's in the basement, so she'll be here in a second.
For sure.
Ashley said you're in Canada?
I'm in Canada, yeah.
Okay. Probably
Where
cooler here today. Have you always been there, or is that new for you?
I've always lived here. This is my
Okay.
home. This
That's
is
cool. Here she is.
Hi.
She thinks she's figured me out.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So Ashley, I'm 100% sure of your mother's type. Like I have no doubt. I'm
Really?
10,000%.
Wow, that's great.
Like very, very clear cut.
Okay, well, that's cool.
For
So,
sure. Yeah.
big
And
reveal.
here's the big
Do you
reveal.
remember it? You need to write it down.
Yeah. So Barb, I believe you to be an ESTJ.
Okay.
And I'll break down the dichotomies
Okay.
and then I'll break down the functions for you. And so the first dichotomy is extroversion or introversion. What is
Okay.
the real world to you? Do you spend a larger percentage of your time interacting with the world around you, or do you spend a larger percentage of time within your own head ruminating on your things pertinent to yourself? Yeah. And
Yeah.
yeah. So definitely extrovert. The constant, I need to get this done, this needs to get done, project after goal after achievement is an extrovert trait of focusing on the external world and completing tasks, finishing tasks, marking them on the to-do list.
Yeah.
The next dichotomy is sensing versus intuition. And so sensors tend to want the insights that they gain to link back to practical reality. So it's like the things I learn, I want them to be grounded in something I can use, that has some sort of utility. And so speculative talk or abstract talk or hypothetical talk, it can be kind of a waste of time sometimes if it doesn't get to a practical use.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really true. Good.
Yeah. And so the third dichotomy is thinking versus feeling. So I believe you to be a thinker. And the reason why is I believe that you use your head to make decisions primarily. You have an easy time separating business from your personal feelings. You also are very level-headed when you approach your students. You tend to try to think it through logically. And when it comes to feelings, you tend to kind of want to set them aside and kind of deal with it in the most impartial way as you can. So you tend to value the more impartial and objective analysis over a more emotional approach. So that's the dichotomy I would.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that you do make exceptions for like like just because something is like with PCC, like discipline committee or something like that, you had a lot more mercy, I would say, than other people. So that kind of seems more like some hard stuff, but yeah, I guess maybe that's just a hard choice too for you to like, not that you, like, of course you can do either thing, but like, yeah, maybe it's not the first one that you would do or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's clear that
like, you know, it's like always hard. People are so complex. It's like
it's true. Yeah. And I mean, Barb has really high ethics. Like she's an extremely ethical person. And so that's apart from thinking and feeling. Like you can have a very ethical thinker. A feeler is more driven by listening to their heart. It's like, I don't really have a reason sometimes. Sometimes I just listen to the pull of my own heart. Whereas a thinker needs to ground what they do in reasons. So that's a difference. Yeah. And it's
reasons too.
Yeah, it's complicated. So it also comes down to sensitivity too. It's like, are you more sensitive than the average person, or are you less than the average person? Yeah,
I would say definitely not. Probably more sensitive than the average person.
Yeah, for you. How about Barb? Is Barb less sensitive than the average person, or more?
I think so. Yeah.
Wait, which one? Which one?
Oh,
less sensitive.
But okay, some stuff with criticism, I would say, like, I had some constructive feedback today earlier on like a project. I talked to some people from my union about like the Christmas videos I made, and like they had some good ideas. Some stuff was like, it wasn't like all easy to hear, but like it was fine because it was like making it better, and I knew they liked it too, so I guess that helped because there was still that positive approval kind of expressed as opposed to only like critique kind of stuff. But so yeah, I guess I would just say it's more like it's hard for you to be like to show that your feelings are hurt or something. You definitely don't like show that, like you have to be pushed pretty hard or pretty far, but then when you are upset, like you're pretty upset.
So thinking and feeling also has to do with emotional expressiveness too. So everyone feels emotions, but thinkers tend to want to keep their cards close to their chest. And so although they're feeling something, they want to be able to remain composed, appear like a good resource until it gets too far, and then it just explodes out. Whereas feelers on a whole are generally more heart on sleeve, always, and just showing compulsively.
I guess sometimes I feel like I'm a little like, sometimes I feel like I was hard to read, or I kept some things like private that people couldn't tell, but in general I probably am, like I feel more exposed, like people can just tell. I want them to know, but like I can't help, like
Another divide between T and F is, do you like objects for their functionality or for their looks and aesthetic? So Barb was telling me earlier about how she'll get things because you can use it for something, and it's okay. If it looks okay, then it's fine. If you can use it, that's what's most important. Whereas she talked about you
that aren't comfortable.
Well, that's true. I've changed that in the last year or so. Yes. Between my backpack and your bags.
Well, I had trouble recently. I with those things that I bought that I was going to sell some of them. There's one, like my favorite was of course the least practical one. I'm going to sell it, but it was hard. It was like, ooh.
And so with Ashley, there's this looking at the prettiness of something or the aesthetics or how it's style. Which is like the T and F difference. You know, the thinking is like, okay, does it make logical sense to buy this? And then the F is like, oh, does this feel nice? Does this look nice? So that's another difference as well. Another
curtains.
I mentioned curtains.
I love curtains.
Curtains that I do
now. And a third difference is, do you feel like most females, or do you feel like you were a little bit more, like you had a little bit of masculine associated traits for a female? because 75% of females are feelers. So a majority of females, they are that feminine stereotype. And so thinking females will feel a little different than their feeling counterpart, and they can tell. They'll be a little bit more blunt, straightforward, a little more bossy, a little like traits that you wouldn't always stereotypically associate with female qualities. And so a lot of thinker females will mention stories about, as a little bit of a tomboy, and I had these traits.
Oh, okay.
And Barb mentioned that as well too. And that lead me towards
some other women sometimes, but not in those ways.
Yeah,
definitely not tomboy ways.
I rode cars with my brother and played ball and drove tractors and the cool things.
Yeah.
But I feel like some girls are like catty, or they're
they can be that side.
Not like, I don't mean to say like authentic or genuine, but like there's more drama, and they're not just like I don't really consider myself down to earth, but I feel like I'm more honest or straightforward sometimes than some people. Like some people are more.
Yeah, that might come down to character apart from personality.
Okay.
So some people are just of poor character, and some people have better character.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or some girls like to talk about stuff I don't really want to talk about as much, I guess. But I mean, guys do too. Like, it's not like it's like, well, really,
it could be more character.
Yeah, a lot of times it's like stuff that's like not enough, like I don't know, like it's not intellectual enough, or it's not like imaginative enough almost, or something. It's like really everyday, like or sports. Definitely don't about that.
Yeah,
a bunch of people playing together.
There are totally explanations for that too, Ashley, that we talk about after as well. I'm just going to brief your mother on her type first. And so the last dichotomy, judging versus perceiving. So judgers, they tend to be very planned, be very orderly. They can make decisions a little quicker in the external world. They're good at organizing their external world, and they feel an external sense of obligation to their outer world too. So it's like almost if other people are let down, you feel like you are responsible for taking care of the group, and that like you feel responsible for meeting external expectations, and you can be very hard on yourself when you don't. So judgers tend to organize their external world to have freedom in their internal world. It's almost like you can relax when everything is taken care of outside of you. But until you have closure with the outside world, you can feel a little bit of unrest inside you until things are finished and completed and taken off the to-do list.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
That probably is why teaching sometimes is so stressful. Because you're a bunch of cats that don't want to get everything done, and it's like, it needs to be done. It has to, and there's a bell that's going to ring, and it's interesting. Yeah.
Oh man, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So minutes to do it, so let's get started.
Yeah, and that's sometimes why if no one will complete the project, you'll just complete the project for them because you want that sense of closure.
That's true. I would definitely say that's true.
Yeah.
You try to help other people do it, but I think
that's why I was bossy in second grade.
Take charge of
kids weren't getting it. Let me just show you how to do it. It's like, move on. It's like things together.
Absolutely. And so I'm also going to bring you all through the cognitive functions of the ESTJ as well.
Okay.
And so the first cognitive function of the ESTJ is extroverted thinking, known as TE. So this is the getting things done, making things happen. Okay, let's go, let's move it. Let's get this project done, completed, finished. And it's kind of like trying to mark things off your to-do list, meeting your goals and objectives, and kind of asking, what are the next steps? And when someone's having a problem, you have this urge to find solutions for them. It's like, okay, you could do this, or you could do this. And so it's offering the next action steps. It's being good at time estimation. So knowing this well, they take this amount of time and this will take this amount of time. So I can just coordinate it to make the best, most optimized use of my time to meet my goals.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's this ability to allocate your resources. It's to be a good resource yourself for other people, and to also know how to allocate things around you to maximize efficiency and effectiveness, to meet objectives, to meet goals. And it's structure, and it's this sense of getting things complete in your outer world, like I said a million times. Sorry.
Yeah, really true. Yeah, that's very accurate.
Uh-huh.
I'm just thinking about myself.
No.
And for sure, the second cognitive function of the ESTJ is introverted sensing. So this is the side of you that likes to take caution with certain things, to be a little more on the safe side. It's like, why are people breaking their wrists? Well, you don't have to break your wrists.
Right.
So it's sticking with what's tried and true, what's familiar, and it's kind of taking a template and making the most out of that template. It's like, you're given this, so you're going to try to like use it to create better templates, or to kind of take an initial starting place and to gradually build on it, you know, figure out the step by step, and so that you can make a procedure that is as dependable and reliable as possible.
Yeah, that's why I definitely would say you're good at that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, look at the way you do things. You've got like spreadsheets and
I know. If
docs
you can make
of,
a list for something, or you can make a table, then it's always going to be good.
and it's like spelled out with the steps. But I mean, it does save time, because then you know you've got it all broken. And if you have like a sub and they would follow everything, it would be easy.
Yes, everything's laid out. Yeah, it's really true.
So
Everything's the table or a list.
It takes a long time to make stuff like that, though.
Not for me.
What do you put? How do you phrase it? Which one? Where? What do you do? How would I format that? What color should I make
And
it?
then it's like, give me the iPad and let me just do it.
My dog is in charge of our move and not me, because now that school's done,
it's like so
you
true.
can have it.
Amazing.
Beside you and doing my entire web page, and you're like, how did you do this?
What
I was doing the doTERRA web page, and I was like, there, it's done. And you're like, how did you do this? It's like, well, I just wrote what I needed to. Oh, too funny. Yeah.
How could you?
We're
How could
very
you know what
different.
you needed to? Like, you have to think about that for a long time.
I know.
Right? Revise. Right. Oh, yeah.
Or
Sorry.
just get it done. Joyce is like, how do they live together?
The opposites of the two.
Yes. That's right. Oh, goodness.
Yeah. And the third function of the ESTJ is extroverted intuition. So this is the side of you that has creative ideas once in a while. So you have this template, step by step, how you do things, or a particular way about how you do things. But sometimes you shake it up a bit. You add a little bit of flavor, a little bit of a dash of cinnamon, pepper, spice, all everything nice. And so you shake up the template with this. You kind of mix it up. You make it interesting. You bring a side of you that takes the existing and you kind of like twist it a little bit. You augment it a little bit. And you tweak it to make it a little better.
Yeah, I think you probably do that too with like teaching and like with math and stuff. Probably. Especially because you are like really good at explaining math type stuff in different ways, and
you have to find enough ways to explain it until the last kid gets it. So
and I think you're good at like coming up with different creative solutions for things. I mean, they tend to be more like around the house. You know, like you.
Well, I say I'm inventive rather than creative. I mean, I can find a solution to something, but I don't consider myself artistic. But I think I'm inventive because I can craft some kind of a solution for something.
Yeah, but I mean, you wouldn't be like. I don't feel like you would ever be stuck like looking at Rita or something.
Oh no,
you'd never be like
no.
You'd never be boring. Nobody would ever describe you as boring.
Probably not.
And like that's a good thing. I mean, yeah. But yeah, that can be more chaotic then too.
Yeah.
This is fascinating.
I know it is.
Yeah, it is fascinating.
So the inventive side of you is the extroverted intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fourth function that you have is introverted feeling. So this is your feeling you feel inside you. Other people might not always know how deep this feeling goes. Sometimes you might not show it on your face. You tend to process your emotions alone. So when you're alone, that's when you start to like go over your feelings, fully go through them. It's a very private process though.
Yeah, I think that's true. I
That
can't
is very
imagine. I
true.
mean, I don't know if you even have like somebody you talk to about. I mean, maybe you talk to dad or something. But yeah,
I don't know that I ever have. I mean, ever.
Yeah,
I don't think I ever have. Yeah.
I mean, maybe you don't need it, but to me that's
No.
sad because I didn't do that for a long time. And
Yeah.
it's nicer when you can.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Interesting. But
Yeah.
you just figure it out on your own kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's the part of you that feels. It is the part that people don't get to see, so people don't understand it as much, but it's there. And it's why when a kid isn't able to hand in an assignment on time, your heart feels for them. Even if it might not show on your face, there's this deep well of emotion that understands that, you're human. And so I'll give you leeway.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true. I was telling
But it's also why you
every day until he finally on the last day said, just give me the 0. And it's like,
wow.
you have till the end of the day. But I come on, turn in the assignment.
Oh, Grant, the one from
yes.
Oh, wow.
I know,
Really?
and I'm like, Grant, I know. But
he was really good.
You almost like plead with the kid. It's like, it's gonna take you like, I mean, the other kids are going, it took us 10 minutes, Grant, just do the assignment.
Wow.
I mean, 10 minutes. And he finally just give me the 0. And it's like, that was hard for me to do, but I had to just give him the 0. But yeah.
How are people not motivated by
I don't know.
good grades and stuff though? Or like people pleasing too. Like your teacher really wants you to do this.
Yeah.
Like, let's do it.
Yeah. But after peeking into
like,
homeroom 3 days in a row, sending emails, sending text messages, you have to eventually give the 0. Like we're out of days, we're out of time. Yeah.
I don't know. I just wanted to do well. Like I don't know why. Why people would not be motivated.
For some people, it's the end of the year, and I just don't care anymore. I got to be in your class. That's good enough. It's like it's good enough. But he approached it. So
no.
But yes, it was very hard. Yeah, please do the assignment.
Absolutely.
He would have 0 4 days ago. But
for sure. Yeah. So it was a pleasure talking to you, Barb. You're extraordinarily articulate. You say your points so clearly, so concisely. You're well conveyed. Yeah, so I really appreciate that.
Well, it's fascinating because what you just named here at the end is like pretty much who I am.
I guess it just
that's interesting.
Like head heart kind of things are hard for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of what she said, so I can write these down.
Yeah.
It's been very interesting.
We recorded it.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. And so I facilitate the instrument and organization, so I can send you an ESTJ report that you can read through and get to know your type a little more in detail. And you can also discuss it with Ashley too. And it'll be a fun time. It's like a family getting to know each other.
Yeah, right.
We should try to get
Dad
to do this.
we need to. It's just with working and then doing home repairs on the weekend and stuff is sort of hard, but hopefully we can do, because it's worth it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's very.
And if we can figure out, like with Dad especially, like what is it, like basically, why are we having these same communication issues over and over and over, like those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if this can give us a key to that, like if we know, we have to communicate in this way, and then he can, and like I feel like Chris is the best at communicating with him, but to like make it less stressful, to speed it up.
Well, it was very fun and easy to do. It wasn't like scary or anything. So thank you.
Yeah. Typology is a great way to learn about the different communication styles of people. I can even give an example with you too. So with Barb, like she answered the questions very straightforwardly. She never gave an exception. Yeah, when I asked her what rules you more, your head or your heart? It was like pretty simple. She's like, yeah, it's my head. She never overcomplicated the questions. She's like, okay, I'm going to answer it this specific way. So I noticed that you're very quick to give a response, and you're also give it very concisely too. Whereas with Ashley, I noticed that with any question I ask her, it's a billion exceptions. So she'll say, well, it could mean this, and it could also mean this, and it can mean this too, and that too. And so I get a billion possibilities with every question I ask Ashley, and no clear answer. Sometimes
it made it interesting parenting her, because we learned very early on that she was different. She was very different from me, and I would say also different from your dad. But it was like, whoa, where is she going with this? Did you tell her the illustration about the kid picking the paper?
Oh yeah, I think I did.
Have you read the book, The 8 Smarts?
No, yeah, so we should send you that one. I mean, it's more for teachers.
It was something that we just did at school, that every kid is smart. They just, one may be body smart, where another one's, head smart in certain ones. You have more success at school than you do with others.
It was like,
but they had the illustration about the teacher wanted you to choose a color paper. I don't know if she shared that. And in the book, it talked about the one kid, and this was Ashley. He's like, I would take yellow because it reminds me of the sun, but today's kind of cloudy, so I could take green because green's a favorite. I mean, it literally went through this whole paragraph. Meanwhile, the teacher's like, take a piece of paper. So she's sharing this, and her dad says,
so I said, what would you guys do? It was the four of us.
Yeah, and I said, I would probably take blue.
That's her favorite color.
Yeah.
And what did Chris say?
I don't remember what Chris said, but Dad says, I'd take the one on top. It just said so much, and it's really him.
Yeah.
It's like, he would just take the one on the top.
I would never think like that was even something I could do. I mean, I would know that it was something, but like, I wouldn't even hesitate
on it. It's like, I just would take the one on top. It's like, just take what I'm given, So this is interesting. I can see that people understand each other.
And it relates back to
paper doesn't matter, really.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. So it's personality types. With Barb, she's an ESTJ with the TE. It's noticing, okay, what would be efficient to do? Okay, so my favorite color. Okay, I'm going to pick it. Done. Decision made. Closure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Get the project done.
Yeah.
I want to know, what am I feeling like today too? What color, like if just because green's my favorite color, it doesn't mean that
I have the assignment done before she's chosen the paper.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's both the NE and the FI. So your NE's like, I want to thoroughly explore every possibility. And the FI's like, well, what emotionally resonates? Like, what color out of all the blues resonate? Maybe it's light blue, royal blue, blue,
cobalt.
No. Yeah. So there are these functions at play, and we can discuss communication styles and why they differ because of these inherent cognitive processes. So your personality type basically tells you how you cognitively reason through things. And so it's really interesting when you see that through the lens of communication. It explains a lot. It allows you to not personalize anything. So maybe at one point you're like irritated at a family member's behavior, or you don't understand it. But through personality type, you realize that, no one wakes up in the morning thinking about all the ways they can piss you off. It's normally a fundamental personality difference. And that no one means to do any harm to another person. Yeah. It's typically because, it's typically
normal
because
circumstances, no.
Yeah. It's
some
typically
movies, people are like vendettas. So.
Yeah. And your NE's like generating all the alternatives. It's like, well, no, it doesn't apply to this.
It's reining myself in a little though too.
Yeah.
That's another thing though. Like I will just like know you better, and so like I feel more comfortable with you. I probably would have like toned it down a bit if you'd been a stranger. So like, but so there could be a little bit of that.
No, it's just I know what I think.
Yeah.
Goodness.
And so I hope this was helpful.
This was really very interesting. I very much enjoyed it. Yeah, so thank you for letting me do this.
Yeah, I'm wondering, so there are a few ways this could be used. So I'm just going to pass them by through you and see which of the options you're most comfortable with, and then I'll choose that option. I'm like, this is actually such a good example of like a typing session. And I'm like, wow, like your mother is so articulate. She is so wonderful. she's really likable, and
yeah, no, that's why that's the
thank
stuff that
you.
seems like so feelingsy or something.
it's not feelingsy, it's extroversion. Her being
Okay.
she's outgoing, friendly, and she's engaged with the outer world in a way where ESTJs are extremely friendly. A lot of them I know are like that. Also, fun fact, most people mistype their moms. So when people talk to me about their moms, 80% of people will type their mom as either ESFJ or ISFJ, because that is the mother archetype, the nurturing archetype, which I think is completely false. It's wrong. It perpetuates so much misinformation. And so normally, typically, mom types are outside of that. It's just that there's a bias towards typing your mom that way. And I see so many people typing their mom that way. Like, someone's got to be wrong. The personality percentages do not line up with that. Yeah. SFJs, they only make up, like, I think 30% or 20% of the population, but they're 80% of moms. That doesn't make sense. So people so people mistype their mom as a feeler because, of course, your mom's going to be nurturing. Like, what kind of mom is not nurturing?
Right.
A bad, like,
a bad
so
mom.
Okay, I need to think about that for a little bit.
My TI is just like, I noticed that inaccuracy
Oh
all the
yeah,
time.
that's true.
It drives me crazy.
Okay.
I'm like, everyone's mom cannot be an ISFJ and ESFJ. Like, the population statistics don't line up with that at all.
So
And,
what was the
sorry. Oh, yeah.
Wait, sorry.
You're giving me options.
Oh, yeah.
Option, second option.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for Barb's TE at work, keeping us back on task. All right. And so
now. It's not very big chair.
yeah. So the first option. Yeah. So So I forgot.
With
private. Second is with your
oh no, it was number 2, I guess.
Yeah, we heard 2.
Yeah.
We did
YouTube. Yeah, YouTube is number 2, and number 3.
You can do a YouTube one. Oh my gosh, she'll be famous. Yeah. Cool.
My audience is really friendly. Yeah.
Her channel is really good.
Oh,
is that okay? Can I say that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice to hear.
Anyway.
Yeah. I'd like to ask for your permission if you'd like to be on YouTube. If you don't want to, it's totally fine as well. But it's
name any names.
You're gonna be so famous. Sorry. Not really. Man, that's no fair.
I mean, that'd be fine.
That'd be fine?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Oh, awesome.
There it is. It's like, where is
it?
Well, you are
you
here.
Gotta have a clip with me, just not this
No,
one.
I mean, that's fine.
Unless that's useful.
However it's helpful to you.
That's great. You're just like a really outstanding individual who cares about their students. You're like a teacher who has your students' best interests at heart, and you're always considering like what is best for my students. And whenever something goes wrong, you always go first to blame yourself. You're like, how can I shoulder on the blame to do something better, to plan better?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're such a good Samaritan. You're such a good
thank you.
individual in society.
Thank you.
That's actually the EJ fixation. So in Personality Hacker, they have the firm model. And so the EJs, so the ESTJs, their actually fixation is on management. And so what this means is they like to make sure everyone's okay around them, kind of take care of the group, and make sure the tasks are done in the group, making sure everyone is on task, and moving the ball forward, keeping people on track, and getting them to meet action steps. Yeah. Which is why they make natural leaders. Yeah.
Okay. What are the other strengths? what are the other fixations and stuff?
Oh yeah. So with the EPs, it's on freedom, so it's keeping their options open. With the IJs, invulnerability, and the IJs, invulnerability.
Oh really? Even like for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
And for the IPs, it's rightness.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Yeah.
So it's hard because like the way you explained management, like it was really good. But just the word management, then I think of like somebody who's like a CEO. I don't know why, because like lots of people are managers that like McDonald's in your local McDonald's, and it's not like they're not CEOs, but it's still like manage. I mean, and again, management is much like what I think of as like
a broader definition.
Yeah, but that
makes absolutely
sense.
Yeah. Like with Barb, she was a natural leader. I think when she was in grade 2 or very young, where she would just go up and get meals for her family and just ask.
Oh yeah, it's true. Yeah, and then she thinks everybody else can do that.
Right.
That's the only problem.
That's why
she can do it.
Why can't anybody else go do this?
Yeah. And then I'm like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, or like sometimes I really wouldn't rather have the food than go.
Yeah. It's like, hey, I wanted the McDonald's.
Yeah.
Hamburger with my sister.
Depends on what it is. Sorry.
This is the ESTJ natural leadership quality. Yeah.
But which we can discuss. It's really fascinating. I mean, I can see why you enjoy learning about it.
One like Joyce is really nice.
Oh yeah. Well,
supportive.
She asked some fascinating questions too.
Oh, that's cool.
Like interesting scenarios. I was like, I needed that as a writing prompt for my kids.
Oh, did you guys talk about the moon one too?
Yes.
What's your response to that?
That I was glad that she wasn't really making me do it as an assignment, but it was rather what I want to even think about it. I would do it, but I was glad I didn't have to. But if it were given to me as an assignment, I would do it.
Oh, that's funny.
Awesome. Yeah. And so when we get everyone in the family types, maybe we can have like a family session where we talk about all your personality types and how they and what it does. Communication style, like where the miscommunication comes from, and how the growth steps of each of the personality types, and we can just go through that together.
Yeah, I think that'd be really great.
Well, this was really interesting. Thank you so much. And
oh wait,
had a long day. Did we
get all of the options, or were there?
Yeah, those were all.
Okay, we're good.
Yes. Wow. Those were all the options.
Okay, I could have like set up better lighting and have like a, I mean.
It doesn't matter.
Conversation. Excited for would have done that.
I didn't put on mascara today, but that's okay. Hey, I didn't get out of school today.
Guess what though? We went to Home Depot like in the afternoon, evening, and I meditated right before we went because I was pretty tired because I had that call with the people, and so it gave me lots of thoughts. But anyway, we went to pick out bathroom lights, and like Chris and I together, because Mom was returning something. Like we picked something out really fast
before I got there.
Like
from returns.
Yeah, I mean there wasn't a line at returns, but we picked it out. And like we also looked at like there weren't like tons of options. I mean there were a lot of options.
We brought home like pictures.
Yeah, we like made some real decisions like fast. And then we got the ice cream was harder to decide on, but surprisingly the lighting fixtures.
We rewarded ourselves with ice cream afterwards.
Yeah,
so
coconut with strawberries and walnuts and pecans, those wood chips. Anyway,
yum in the tummy.
I didn't know that. Anyway, sorry, we're probably tired. Sorry.
We'll let you go, but we'll find a time that you can maybe do this with Fred. That would be interesting to see.
It, right? Taking some time away on the weekend.
It would be. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you, and it's so nice to feel like I know you a little bit better because Ashley speaks so highly of you and her time that she's been with you. So,
and it's a pleasure to talk to you too. Ashley speaks super highly of you as
well. Oh, thank you. Well, thank you.
Take care.
If I ask you, would you listen? If I ask you, would you stay and share this bag of M&Ms with me? If I whisper that the darkness weighs me down today, would you walk me to a light that I can see? If I ask you, would you play me that song that makes us dance and laugh until the tears roll from our eyes? If I tell you that I'm hurting and lost and cold and done, will you lift my chin and show me brighter skies? I don't need a house, a rooftop or 4 walls. I don't need a fence, a lawn or some old tree. Just Just a walk, a talk, a song, a call, a word or two when spirits fall, that will feel like home enough to me.
If I ask you, would you love me when I'm feeling less than loved? Would you split an extra large cheese lover's pie? Would you binge watch season 2 of Breaking Bad just one more time and understand when randomly I cry?
If I ask you, would you hear me? If I ask you, will you hold a place for me for when I don't belong? If I tell you I can't do this and I start to back away, will you tell me you've been with me all along?
I don't need a house, a rooftop, or 4 walls. I don't need a fence, a lawn, or some old tree. Just a walk, a talk, a song, a call, a word or two when spirits fall, that will feel like home enough to me.
When darkness settles in like a hammer on your chest, you need someone who's seen you at your best and knows that dark is just the other side of light and won't let you slip away without a fight.
I don't need a house, a rooftop, or 4 walls.
I don't need a fence, a lawn, or some old tree.
Just a walk, a talk, a song, a call, a word or two when spirits fall, that will feel like home enough to me. You will feel like home enough to me. When spirits fall, that will feel like home enough to me. You will feel like home enough to me.
I have a special way I like to celebrate birthdays, and that's with singing and a little snow magic, of course. Happy birthday, dear princess. Happy birthday to you, and many more.